Welcome to the Habits of the Few, where we discuss habits, rituals, and mindset tactics that you can use to reach your version of success. And now, here's your host, Mo Nabolsi.
All right, so good morning. Welcome, everybody, to Habits of the Few. I'm your host, Mo Nabolsi. Today, I have quite an interesting, incredible guest. His name is Dr. Chris Zaino, and, just looking at him, you'll be like, this guy's a doctor? Absolutely not. He is, in fact, a former Mr. America winner. He's a world-renowned speaker. He's an author. And, he's faced and defeated a deadly disease in his late 20s that inspired his journey of health and wholeness. And he has built one of the largest health and wellness clinics in the world, serving thousands every single week. He inspires audiences to embrace the hero inside, which we'll dive a little bit deeper into, and believe you can change the world around you. His message is on track to reach over 1 million future heroes through speaking, social media platforms, and life-changing conversations. This guy is the modern-day Renaissance man. And please welcome Dr. Chris Zaino. Chris, are you there?
Thank you, Mo. Appreciate everybody who's listening. And have a good time. So let's kind of backtrack a little bit, just because my personal ambition is in the strength and health industry as well as the wellness industry. I'm obsessed with various forms of natural medicine. I see a naturopathic doctor, like we were just talking about. I got a chiropractor, massage therapist, ART. I even did gua sha. I don't know if you've ever done gua sha before, but gua sha is like 20 times more painful than Graston, in my opinion. With gua sha, they use these little tiny tools that just really dig in there, scraping away. Whereas with the Graston, it's almost like a set of knives, like, dull-bladed knives that are used to scrape away like the scar tissue. You might know more than I do, but how were you able to put together, I guess, an all-around wellness clinic that can give patients and a little bit of everything? What was your thought process in that? Like, what triggered, like, I'm going to do all of this? Right. So, perfect. And I think this applies to any business. And I'll take little side notes to just let people know that, if you're listening, we'll make sure that you can apply something immediately today. For me and for anybody, you got it. Whatever you do in your business, you have to be 1,000,000% congruent with it. Meaning, like, if you look at the supplements on my wall in my office, they're the ones I'm taking. And when I change my protein powder, guess what changes? The stock. I'll get rid of the stock. Like, I just can't sell what I'm not congruent with. So that's why, like, for me, chiropractic, that really saved my life. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I was a week away from getting my colon removed. I was bleeding every time I went to the bathroom. I went from about 230 pounds to 158. And I tried all the drugs, you name it. Nothing was working, hundreds of grand in medical debt. And someone says, hey, you need to go see my doctor. He's a chiropractor. And I thought he was full of crap. I was so skeptical. I was like, are you kidding me? And but he says, hey, you didn't try everything, and why you would have had your results. So it just kind of woke me up to try it. And within 7 months, my body healed itself. There was no more blood. I was just totally healed. My body was able to heal itself. So I had because I went through that experience, I had the faith that, hey, my body can heal itself. And so then I went back to school to get my doctorate in that, because it was an experience I had a personal experience in. You follow me? So everything I do, like training and exercise, well, that's part of you and I, right? That's what we do. I eat a certain way. That's what I preach. I tell people to eat a certain way. If I say eat organic, I better be eating organic. So I think a real easy way to sell, no matter what you're doing, even if you're working for someone, the best way to sell is you're actually living a living testimony of it, and you do it yourself on a daily basis.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you 100%. Absolutely. It's you're an advocate of it. When you're an advocate of it, it's not really selling. It's more of like, this is my story, and I'm going to tell you why it's so amazing and why you should be doing this. I agree with you.
And Mo, another thing I do, Mo, that would be kind of cool is, like, it's just not the owner or the business owner. It's how about your team? Like, they used to tell us never hire a patient. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm going to hire a patient. You know why? Because they paid for their care.
they went through the care. They got the results from the care. They went through the ups and downs in the care. So you can't find someone that has a heart that deep into what you're doing because they did it for themselves. So even your employees, if you do have any, you want to make sure that they're also an advocate as well.
Really? So they say not to hire patients. I would think it would be the exact opposite, just because like what you said. And, like with me, I always joke to my wife about this. I say, I think I missed my calling in life because, I'm in the digital marketing space, and I always tell like my wife, my close friends, whatever, like I really feel like I missed my calling in life when it comes to like the health and wellness, because I'm so passionate about it. And I can't see anybody more passionate than someone that has been a patient become a practitioner.
Right. Oh, because you're an entrepreneur and you think successful. See, this is just, where did I learn that? I learned that in school. I learned that through education. I learned, right. I was told that. But when you really have practical things that work in real life, it's like when someone says, I don't have the time or the money to pay for this care, and your team is like, you know what? I was working 2 jobs. I paid for it. You know what? Do you understand? Like, there's just such a deep, you cannot get through them because they are just so rooted in. You cannot, you can't just train someone. That's very superficial. That's kind of like your analogy with the Groston tools versus the gua sha, right? Like, one's a little bit more superficial, but to get really, really deep down, they have to actually go through that experience. So I always acknowledge, hey, listen, if you have a client or a customer that is sold out, doing great, doing amazing, even if they have a job, I recruit them.
That's amazing that you do that. That's incredible. I think that's just such a intelligent way of bringing people in. So you healed your body, or your body healed itself by doing chiropractic adjustments. Can you dive a little bit deeper on that? How that process took place?
Yeah, 100%. So, winning Mr. America, looked a certain way, felt a certain way. So it was really tough for me, Mo, is I based my health on how I look or how I felt, right? I covered the magazines. I was the personal trainer for the show Zaino Warrior Princess and Hercules. Like I had a great, wrote for online stuff, doing great. And when I got married, probably 6 months into our marriage, just started going to the bathroom a lot, and it never stopped. Then it was just blood, and it was just like, I didn't tell anybody. So and that's the one thing, sometimes, people have to understand, like, in life, when there's something going on, you definitely don't want to look the other way. It just, because it doesn't help. But I did that. I disassociated. Maybe it'll go away. It didn't. And then I got to the point where I was losing my bowels in public. And that's the day my wife found out. And so that's when I got diagnosed with this incurable terminal disease called ulcerative colitis. And so they gave me all it's autoimmune. So they gave me all these immune system suppressants and organ rejection medications and chemotherapies, and nothing's working. And that's why, when my mom already lost 2 brothers. I lost 2 brothers, and my mom lost my dad. So this is her 3rd son dying. So when she sent out that email to everybody, she sends out that email like moms do, pray for my son. And everybody's, hope the surgery goes well. But my anatomy teacher from 10th grade, my sophomore year in high school, Mr. Bauman, he sent an email saying, I want to see Chris when he comes to the town. And when I told him, thanks so much, I'm not going to go see your doctor, because I said this, Mo, I said, I tried everything. And I didn't realize, when you're going through a tough time, and this relates to your health, your finances, your relationships, and even your business. When you're going through a tough time, you don't realize it's a disease process. And you don't realize when you get to the point of being a victim and hopelessness. And when I said I tried it all, I was literally stating that I was a victim. I was stating that I tried everything. I have no more hope. And he says, well, again, you didn't try everything. Otherwise, if you tried everything, you would have had your health. And it just was a statement that woke me up. And that's another thing, Mo, like if anybody's going through an issue in any of those areas, relationships, finances, business, or health, be very, very sensitive to the people, the music, the movies, the book you're reading around you, because there's words of wisdom that are speaking to you that might wake you up out of your funk to be able to get a new opportunity. So I went, Mo, I gave it a shot, man. And then the doctor put it all on me. I told the doctor, when am I going to get better? And then he points at me, he literally pointed in my face. He goes, no bedside manner, but I appreciate it. He's like, when you choose to correct your problem, because I had a big 20-degree curvature on my lower spine. So our spines have to be straight up and down from front to back. So I had a lot of damage in my spine. I never had low back pain though, right? So my first symptom was colitis. So here, this is a huge blind spot. Like, so this is a blind spot I didn't know. This was the blind spot I wasn't addressing or taking care of. And that's what gets us, guys. It's not the things we know that kill us. It's the things that we don't know. And so I saw a blind spot. And so I started correcting that. And, you know, he corrected my spine like braces correct teeth. That's kind of how we do in my office as well. And it takes a while, you know, it takes some time. But, 3 months I was off half the drugs, 5 months I'm off all the drugs. And 7 months later is when I was 100%.
That's incredible. I joke about this a lot because I get people that, you know, like I'm one of like 8, and I'm the oldest out of all my siblings. And I've got younger brothers and sisters who, you know, like the thing that they'll always tell me, oh, I've tried everything. Oh, I tried everything. This didn't work. I tried everything. I can't get a job. I tried everything. You know, I can't get into the school, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, if you tried everything, something would have worked. You haven't tried everything. Don't be deluded. And it's crazy to me that for you, that the curvature in your spine is what was causing the colitis.
Yeah, nuts, right? Because there's
absolutely blows my mind. Like, oh man, I didn't know that. That's go ahead.
Because those nerve roots, those nerves come out of your spine. Your spine just doesn't, it's not for a posture. You got nerve roots coming out of there. And with that amount of misalignment of the spine, it put enough pressure on the nerves to actually shut down like mental impulses. And then the absence of health is disease. So the absence of those mental impulses to the organs was putting me in an environment for a disease process.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so cool.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Absolutely, man. He was a chiropractor, healed his entire body, and I do his meditations every single morning. Yep.
His meditations are awesome. His courses are awesome. His book is incredible. You ever seen the documentary on Netflix?
Yeah. I saw. Yeah, I know Joe. Actually, you know, one of my mentors is very good friends with him, and they met through wine. He's also a wine connoisseur. That's like this guy has a very amazing life as far as he packs seminars with 1,800 people at $1,800. I mean, and does these 7-day meditation seminars and really some life-changing stuff. So I'm grateful for him because I don't know, I don't know if you're like me, Mo, but he took the woo-woo of meditation, as we would say, and he demystified it. Because, you know, he actually has scientific research studies showing how the brain's impacted, all these other things, and research. So it kind of demystified it to where I'm like, okay, I'll give this a shot. And probably for a year straight now, it's definitely been very helpful for my creativity and life.
You and I both, I've always thought meditation was woo-woo. Now, I've meditated and, you know, prior to that, and I've journaled, power positivity, affirmations. I've always been in that, but like strictly meditating, the way that everybody says you should meditate, I've always thought was like, okay, this is ridiculous. It wasn't until I heard about him, and I heard about him on, I think it was Ed Milet's Max Health podcast.
Yeah.
And then I just started digging and read his books, got his books, went through a bunch of videos he did on YouTube and his Netflix documentary. And I was like, this is insane. And I know because he's got this all backed by science, I know that because I've always believed deep down that the mind can pretty much create anything. Like if you've got control over your mind, not your mind controlling over you, you have the possibility of really shaping and creating your own destiny in some sense. And so the fact that he was able to do that just blew my mind. And yours is a similar story. I mean, yeah, you not so much, the power of the mind. I mean, it definitely is involved, but the fact that it was a chiropractor that said, well, this needs to be fixed in order for this to work. And then this needs to be fixed in order for this to work versus like the Western medicine methodology, which is here, take a couple pills and, you're always going to have these problems, but this will help. It's like a Band-Aid, I feel like that's that's what Western medicine is. They're just Band-Aids, never really figuring out the root, or it's surgery. It's like they're extremes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. I tell my patients, listen, a prescription is basically a permission slip for you not have to change anything in your life. And when people realize that knowingly or knowingly or unknowingly, everybody listening right now, you're in the state of health, relationship, business, and finances. Knowingly or unknowingly, you're living some type of recipe that got you where you are now. You developed it. Like, you were in control of it. Like, don't blame the circumstances, like whatever. So I had this blind spot of health. So even though I thought I tried everything, like you said, Mo, I clearly didn't, right? And then so here was a blind spot. So once that was corrected, then my circumstances changed. So the prescription is absolutely it's a permission slip for someone with diabetes to not cut down on the freaking sugar. It's for someone with cholesterol or heart problems to not have to, and it's not even a permission slip because it still doesn't work anyway. So it's like when we start to get cause focused, knowing that every cause doesn't go cause. There's always a cause to something, and just keep on searching. And like you said, you never give up the search for that. And there might be different roads that lead to the cause and to the improvement, but I mean, you just never quit. You never take the quick fix at all. The quick fix leads to an early demise for sure.
Agreed. Before we get into your hero methodology, I did want to address something that I touch on almost every podcast, because people tend to look at this like like it's almost taboo, like, or they frown upon it. The entire idea of quality meats and poultry and fish, even vegetables, in today's modern world, and how terrible it is for you, which is why I highly urge everyone to do organic, grass-fed, free range, you name it. I know that you're a big advocate of it, and I just want people to hear it from you with your credibility, why it's important, right, if you don't mind.
No, 100%. So remember, when you eat something, when you eat an animal, you're also eating what that animal eats. So remember, you eat what your animal also eats. So it's very important that I know what that type of meat, poultry, fish has eaten and how it was taken care of, because I'm putting that into my body. And when I eat to live, meaning that like when we consume foods, the food we eat is the building blocks that replicate the body. Like, our cells die off and our cells are replicated, right? Like, we have a new body every couple of years. Like, we all know that. And so I want to make sure the building material is pure. It's as good as it could be. And now, Mo, 10 years ago when I did a nutrition talk, I didn't have to talk about the stuff I talk today about GMO food and non-organic and grain-fed. And so something could look like a piece of steak and something could look like broccoli next to it. And people could say, hey, I went to sweet tomatoes and I ate a salad, but they don't realize they're eating frankenfood. It's not real food anymore. It's loaded with pesticides and all types of, preservatives. And these cows are fed hormones and growth hormones and estrogens to fatten them up, and they're given a bunch of grain that's genetically modified. So it becomes the best way I could say is frankenfood. And when you consume this, you're consuming all the toxins and the junk with it as well. And so that's why not only do you do organic, of course, and Mo, a good tip is do organic, get organic vegetables frozen, because I know people say, well, they're expensive, but when they're frozen, you take out what you need, so you never really waste it. When it comes to the meats, I even go a step further, because even in supermarkets, if it says it's grass-fed, it might be grass-fed and grain-finished. It's a sneaky loophole that the FDA lets you go through. So
grass-finished, yeah.
Yeah, so I found find a local farmer, and I got a local farmer here, and he brings all the meats to our office. So we give him a lot of business. But I went to his farm, I looked at it, so it's grass-fed, grass-finished. The chickens are no soy in the feed. So, it's so important you find your food. And when it's a local farmer or local organic, it's cheaper because they're local and you're supporting your local farm. So you're right, Mo, like you and I, when we're talking, when it comes to our body, the reason why we have the amount of health we do is because there's so much intention, and then and I really put non-negotiables. It's like, I'm not going to eat. Like, if I'm at the airport or I'm traveling, I bring grass-fed beef jerky with me. I will not eat anything there because I just don't do that. I'm not going to put it in my body because I feel it. I'm not going to put myself through that.
Oh God, I was just about to say, you really do feel a difference. Yeah. Like, it's almost instantaneous.
Yep.
It just kind of sits there and lingers. I think
I agree with you on the local farmer. So my uncle raises chickens. I get my eggs from him, and I got a buddy of mine that raises cattle. And like a mutual friend of ours, we typically will split the cow. So I'll buy 50%, he'll buy 50%, freeze it, and we do that several times a year. And I give it out to like my family, my mom here and there, and they're like, "This is the most amazing." It's like they almost like treasure it. They'll hold it for special occasion. I'm like, no, eat this instead of the stuff that you're buying.
Right.
Like, have you seen, like, when they go to the supermarket and they buy just like frozen bags of chicken breasts, and they'll say chicken breast with rib meat, and it just looks like chicken breasts should not be that large. They're not that big. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
There's no way, like, without any kind of GMOs and hormones, that chicken is going to be, the chicken is going to be that huge. It's not possible unless it's just a genetic freak. But I'm like, this isn't. And I showed him. I remember one time I took, I think it was my sisters. I took them over to my place. I'm like, I want to show you the difference between a hormone like injected GMO chicken versus one that is just natural. Like there's nothing in the meat, and they couldn't believe like the size difference of like the chicken breast, the legs, the wings. Like it was insane. Anyways, so yeah, I'm glad that you really kind of explain in detail about that, because I think it's just so critically important. I mean, and people say it's too expensive. Well, it's like $2-3 more, right? $3-4 more. Is you got to step back and think to yourself, is it really worth not spending the extra few bucks to take care of your temple? Like your body is your temple. Like how, it should be your greatest investment. I know you preach that a lot, so I appreciate you taking the time to explain that.
Yeah, no problem.
So I want to switch gears and dive into the hero methodology, the hero program that you put together, and it's kind of it definitely resonates with me. And if you can break that down for me, I know you've got remembering your childhood hero, facing your secret identity, and the fears and fogs and failing to realize your dream. How did you come about the hero philosophy and where it is today? If you wouldn't mind kind of diving deep into that.
No, absolutely. So here I get my health back. I get my doctorate in 2005. My wife and I started my office, and we became the largest clinic in the history of our profession. So things were great. It was just a wonderful story. And then probably around 35, 36, 37, I'm looking around, Mom, like I got everything. I mean, healthy wife, check. 2 beautiful kids, boys, check, done. Awesome clinic, amazing people that I have love and contribution, and all the human needs are met there. A beautiful house we built, I paid for it, Lamborghini in the garage, like, dude, everything, right? Had my health, had everything. And then I started like just internally, I'm like, why am I feeling kind of heavy? I was starting to feel heavy or a little bit numb. I would say a little bit depressed and disengaged. I started disengaging from people, and I just didn't know what was going on. And I'm very introspective. I can tell you, I can be open with my feelings. And for this one, I couldn't put my finger on. It was like this beast in the cage. I don't know what it was. And I was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I couldn't talk to anybody because I was afraid of someone saying, like, you're not grateful, right? Because I was grateful, but I was feeling these feelings. There was a reason. And so my son was in the other room. I was in my office at home. And he goes to his mom. He goes, hey, Mom. He goes, what happened to Daddy? And he said in a way, Mo, that it was like, what happened to the guy that used to be my dad? He knew it took a child. It took my at the time, 8 or 9-year-old to see that even though I put on that smile, Mo, even though I walked the walk, he knew something was rotting on the inside of me. So my soul was dying. So I asked permission. Hey guys, I'm going to take some days to myself. And I got real honest with myself. Mo. I was like, so why do I do what I do? And I just questioned my purpose. I questioned my why. And I was coming up with a lot of Success 101 answers, which is, here's Success 101 answer. When I tell, like we were talking about, people say food's too expensive. Well, if I asked them what their greatest asset is, they would say, oh, it's my health. No, that's what you want me to hear. But if I look at your checkbook, I can really see what your greatest asset is. So I was saying, well, what's my why? I want to help people. Yeah, it wasn't really moving me. I want to see people live optimal lives. Yeah. But then finally, I just got so pissed off. I'm like, you know what? I just want to be admired for achieving amazing things and doing something in this world that it's never seen before. I got like selfishly, I just want to be admired, known for doing some amazing stuff. And I felt something release. I felt like the calluses of my heart come off. And I looked up the definition of admired, contribution, achievement. Because I want to know what is this coming out of me. And then when I was scrolling down Google, I saw the definition of hero. And the definition of a hero is one who is admired or idolized for courage, contribution, outrageous achievement, and nobility. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. And then all of us, I remember back, all of us that are listening, when you were younger, you remember, like, I wore the superhero costumes and pajamas all the time. I realized I worked out because I wanted to look like the superheroes. I won Mr. America, Mr. Universe to have superhero titles. I beat this life-threatening disease. I became a doctor to go save lives. And so I had the achievement part, Mo, clearly, and I had the contribution part. But here's the thing. I didn't have the courage. And I didn't have the courage to allow myself to be who I was really created and destined to be and what I felt I should be. I tell people, because I was living a secret identity in the fact that, like, I let my job dictate my identity. Like my job, like being the doctor, was who I was. And so for me to make this impact or to do bigger and greater things, even outside the health and wellness field, it meant that I had to leave my lane or lose my identity. So I got scared. I shrunk. I mourned. I came back. But when you're realizing, if you're listening on this phone right now or on the line, when you realize you're living half your life and half your potential, the other half of your life and potential will torment you forever. And I realized in that moment, I was never depressed, Mo. I was never disengaged. I was never numb. I was not ungrateful. I was grieving my potential the entire time. So that feeling, so if you're listening right now and you have that feeling of unsatisfied and unfulfilled, and you just know there's something, you can't put your name on it. When I say the word, you're grieving your potential, that should hit you right in the spot that really covers it. And so that's what it was for me. So I chose to embrace the hero aspect of me and allow myself to, because at 36, 38 years old, Mo, like, I still was living out everybody else's value. You know what I mean? Like my parents never went to college, so I had to go to college. So I was living out what was a good idea that everybody else told me to do versus really finding my own truth and living up my life, what really gives me excitement. Like, you love health and wellness, and you said, maybe I missed it. No, dude, you love it. You do it, right? So you do something you love. And so that's when I created the I Am Hero Project, and I've been speaking and developed that course and helping coaching with high executives that go through this, man. You'd be amazed. 100 millionaires, guy who sells his company $100 million, a week later is depressed because it's like his identity is gone. So it's about allowing people to step in the life they want to create without having other people's values dictate it.
Wow. And so you looked up, you Googled the description, and the definition came out to be the definition of a hero. Yeah. Or the term hero.
Yeah. And then so I made a 4-part methodology, which, again, how did I come up with it? It's because it was my own process of getting through what I had to go through, because I could have stayed where I was at and it would have been comfortable but tormenting. But just I chose to, and that's when we moved, we did all these other things, just amazing stuff. We really went for it. I jumped into the uncertainty. I jumped into the unknown, and it was really just an amazing ride. It was such a blessing. And so the 4 parts of the methodology is, number 1, you got to embrace the hero mindset. All right. And then number 2, we could go into a little deeper. Then number 2, then you maximize your superpowers. These are your unique gifts and talents that we all have, that we love to do. How do we know it's a unique gift, a superpower? Because you talk about it all the time. You want to do it all the time. You feel good doing it. You would do it for free. It's like the thing that we take our talents for granted because they're easy to us. But your talent that's easy to you could be something that someone desperately needs. Like digital marketing. Like what you do is like a weakness of mine. It's a strength for you. And then choose your vehicle. And this is what my vehicle is like. My vehicle is speaking and video. For someone, it's writing. For someone, it's voice. For someone, it's one-to-one, knee-to-knee. Someone, it's one-to-many. And then after that, what most personal development and self-help never tells you is they get you excited about something, but then they don't tell you how to monetize it. So then the big leg that really helped people I work with is now, what is it you love to do? And now let's work, especially with today's social media and technology, anything you love to do, guys, you can make slime and make it tremendously monetizable, right? So it's how to monetize your message. But the key word is your message, monetizing your message, because then you get to live a life that you love. And then the thing that you can't stop thinking about, what's the thing that you have a irrational obsession about? Like, that's why I love it. What people say, what's a great way to raise your kids? And I'm like, I just look for what my kids are obsessed over. And if they're obsessed and crazy over it, I pour all my money into that, because nothing beats someone who's obsessed and focused on one thing that they love to do. You'll outwork everybody because the act of doing that work is your reward. It's not the end result. It's like, so you find someone who loves what they do, by default, they outwork everybody. So it's a great way to do it. We've been having a lot of fun with it.
I agree 100%. How do you, I think this is something a lot of people struggle with. How do you find what your natural talents are, which can be identified as, I guess, self-awareness?
Yep. So I have a whole little list, and I'll go over what is the thing that you forget to eat? What is it for me, that's a big deal. Like, if I'm doing something I forget to eat, that's pretty good. Or what's the thing that time flies by when I'm doing it? Sometimes I notice when if you're doing that thing, and I'll give you a reason how to find a thing. Like, if that's that thing you do, and I notice, right now I'm talking to you, Mo, and my energy is higher. I'm going to leave the conversation with you way higher energy than I did when I started, right? So the act of doing it actually recharges you. You tap into this universal power. You don't need coffee. You just need to do what you do. What is the thing that if I gave you $50 million and after 6 months after you spent and did all those things, now you got $50 million. Now what are you going to do? And what would that be the thing that you do for free? And so what is the thing that people always come up to you and talk to you about? Even though I'm a doctor, people still come up to me and talk to me about nutrition and stuff like that, right? So what is the thing that people that I want to talk, that I can talk to till 2, 3, 4 in the morning? So you find those things. And if someone's saying, well, I don't know, you got to understand, when you say the word I don't know, you do know. That's just your secret identity. That's the old you trying to protect itself. You do know. It's about remembering. And so how do you know? Well, and if sometimes I say you got to do the buffet of life, meaning that you went to school, you went to college, you've been in a 9-to-5 job, so you don't even know what you want anymore. You don't even know what you like. And the only way you know what you like is actually trying different things. I have a patient, I love her. And every couple months she comes in with she's doing a different job. I'm like, you know what? I appreciate you, because at least you're trying the buffet of jobs to really find out and lock down what you want to do. But a lot of times you just got to try a lot of things, because a lot of times we're so sheltered, or we did what everybody else wanted us to do, that we never really sat down and we said, well, who the hell am I? I literally looked in the mirror and didn't know who I was, because it's like, did I have an original thought? Am I doing something that I thought would be a good idea for myself? And I didn't. And here I was in my mid-30s, and now at 42, really allowing myself to experience contrast. That's a key word, Mo, right? So if I try something and I don't like the way it feels, I don't like it, then good. It clarifies more what I do want. So it's being self-aware to those things that when you do it, it's like sticking your finger into an outlet, and you get this amazing energy, and everybody has it. It's not like a gift. It's just self-awareness, for sure.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's tough to identify sometimes, and I think a lot of people struggle with it because what they feel I think some people are deluded. They believe that their talent is one thing, but if you ask someone who's very close to them, maybe their spouse, brother, sister, whatever, they'll tell you, well, no, he's actually really talented in singing. And this guy will think that he's very talented in playing basketball when in turn he sucks at basketball. Right. So I think that also tends to help is getting some sort of outside source. So I want to talk about, I know we got to get you off the phone here pretty soon, but I want to give you this platform to kind of discuss some of the things that you're working on. I know you put together a lot of digital products and courses and things like that. What is something that you're going to be working on that's going to be launching here soon?
Well, I have the I Am Hero project, that's my masterpiece right now. That's something that'll be coming out probably in the next 2 months. And, I looked at master classes, and I looked at the best master classes out there, and I wanted to one-up it to make it more entertaining and very, efficient. I don't like watching 40-minute modules. I don't think anybody has the time. So I just created a course where we could go through these principles to really take someone from saying, am I living a secret identity, to their full-blown hero potential, and connecting them with people such as yourself, or what I call heroes. That's the fears and fogs. What I mean by this. The reason why we don't do something, or the reason why someone's listening doesn't make that step, because number one, you get inspired, so you know it's a good move. But here's the thing, then you start to think, oh, what you're not good at, what you can't do, or what I call fears and fogs. The fears of, like, I don't know digital marketing, I don't know anything about a Facebook ad, and all these things we don't know how to do. We get scared, and what do? We procrastinate, and then nothing happens. So my job is like, let's write down all those fears, let's write down all those fogs, write them down on a piece of paper, because number one, it desensitizes them. It takes them out of your emotion. Now it's on a piece of paper. You could objectify it, and then you make those fears and fogs your new goals for 2019. And what's that mean, a new goal? Well, the new goal is this. If those are my fears, if they're the only things that are standing in my way, then I need to either learn the skill, partner with someone who has a strength in my weakness, or hire out my other weaknesses and fears, or hire people that comes in and takes that fear away from me, so it clears the road, and there's now nothing standing in your way for reaching the dreams and going to the next level of your life. I believe all of us will have multiple chapters in our lives. So, you know what you're doing now, Mo, in 7 years, you could be doing something even bigger, greater, and not even related to what you're doing now. And that's fine. That's okay. So if someone's even listening right now and you're like, well, I just don't know my purpose. That's okay. It's not time yet. You'll know it. So you just got to allow life to bring you through enough crap or enough situations or enough exposure, enough contrast to really start clarifying and sculpting. This is what I want to do, and you'll know. And even if you're getting closer to it, if I do something and I fail, or if it's a perceived failure, it just gives me clarity. I'm like, well, great. I definitely know I want this now. And so that's why we're easily anybody I could take from where they are now and really get them to remember what it is that they truly love to do.
That's incredible. Where can people find you?
Oh, cool. So, well, Instagram's really good under Dr. Zaino, DrZaino. And something I have for everybody, I have something called the Hero Secret Sauce. So when someone says, okay, you went Mr. America, you built this practice, just like you, Mo, like I could ask you the same thing. Like, hey, you build all these companies and you're doing this stuff and you're very successful. And what's your secret sauce? And you might say, well, I don't have a secret sauce, but you do, like even subconsciously. So even though I hit the top of very different areas of life, and then I distilled it down to 5 basic characteristics and principles that I put into something. It's a PDF for you guys. If you just go to IamHero.com/secret, so it's IamHero.com/secret, you'll get that Hero Secret Sauce. I have a couple videos for you going over them in a PDF and a little workbook that goes with it. And this will help start moving you in anywhere. You could apply it right now, today, either at your work, your profession, your job, your relationship. You apply these principles and you will get better in those areas for sure.
Awesome. I appreciate that. That's going to be incredible for my listeners. I think that's going to be a gateway to really starting down this path, because no matter who you are and no matter how successful you become, I truly believe, I'm one of those people that believe that it's difficult to be successful in all facets of life. You'll find people that are extremely successful in business, but their relationships, their marriages, maybe have been suffering, or they're really successful with a relationship, but their business suffers, their financial suffer. And so I think this is really, really great to be able to kind of understand full spectrum and how to elevate yourself. So I appreciate that. A couple of things I do at the end of my podcast is I ask a couple closing questions. And the first question I ask is, what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is by Nathaniel Branden. And he was a psychotherapist and, psychologist. And his quote was this: when people would come and complain to him as a victim, he would look at him and he would say this. Here's the quote: "No one is coming to save you." And he would do that because it creates self-resolve. Like when you realize no one's coming to save you and the circumstances of your life are created by you, or it's how you react to them. So anytime, and it really is a positive quote, no one's coming to save me. And a hero believes that. No one's coming to save the people, so what do? They step up, they step in. and they take charge. So my quote is, no one is coming to save you.
I love it. Who, in your mind, in your opinion, who do you think has been the most inspirational to your life? Who has made the greatest impact in your life?
And I'll say who it is, and then I'll explain why. I'm going to actually have to say myself, and I'm not doing like the Snoop Dogg thing, but man, let me tell you, when I was sick and I was scared and I was down, I had no willpower. People thought I was not positive when I was sick, guys. Like, there was no positive affirmations that got me through it, but just realizing, like, if I was to go back in time and talk to myself then, just the stuff that I went through and how I responded to things and just getting and building a relationship with myself in my 30s. Like, I don't know who I was, and building a relationship, that really inspired. And looking back at the things I was able to accomplish, it was almost like David and Goliath, you know, like some of the past trials I got through, I was able to really look at it and inspire me to do even more in the future. If I'll, like, you know, I love that David and Goliath story, because, like, you know, he wasn't an underdog. He was a kid who, like, killed a bear, and he killed a lion, and he tended sheep, and he got really good with a slingshot for like 15 years. So when this big giant comes, like, the books and religion make it seem like it was an underdog. No, he was the most prepared. He's like, no, guys, I got this. And that's what I think our past, the things, everybody on this line, you got through something rough in your life, whether it be maybe you didn't have a dad at home or a mom at home, or, you know, you got bullied, whatever it was, but you got through it. So instead of looking at it as a defeat, look at, like, hey, you got through this, look at the resolve, and allow that to inspire you forward. So I fall back on myself for sure and what I learned.
That's awesome. I get where you're coming from. I understand your perspective. I think a lot of people tend to be like, well, what their first reaction when somebody would say something like that, oh, this guy is obviously full of himself. But the reality is, you're not. You're looking at it. I wish more people thought like that. You're almost looking at it from like a third person's perspective. You're looking inwardly but outwardly at the same time, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody knows, like, you could tell from my heart and my intention that it was just like, sometimes I think more of us listening, you need to be a little bit more proud of yourself and what you went through, because I believe, you know, people really are tough on themselves, and they don't realize how amazing they are. Because they're comparing themselves to too many other people. Or they're saying, well, I'm not like Tony Robbins, or I'm not like this person on Instagram. And this comparison creates insecurities beyond belief. But you never know what they went through. Like, when you see someone successful, like, don't envy or covet them, because you never, like, you weren't in their shoes. You don't know what they went through. You don't know what they sacrificed, right? So it's like, so instead of comparing, it's like, well, why don't you look at the wins in your life and be inspired by that?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Last thing I want to end on is, you have a 15-minute fuel segment. Could you talk about that and how people can find that if they need to get a quick little tidbit for their
awesome.
day?
Yeah. So if you go, I have two shows. I have on YouTube. I have one called 15-Minute Fuel, which was actually turned into Hero Fuel. So that's on YouTube and iTunes. And then I have YouTube videos that I post every week called 5-Minute Fuel, because sometimes 15 is too long. So I did 5-Minute Fuel, and these are really, really good. Actually, 5-Minute Fuel, Mo, let me tell you the intention behind that. When I was, like, going through a rough time and feeling depressed and didn't know why, I got in front of a camera, and I was just going to leave my sons, like, out of all the books I read. When I read a book, Mo, I read the book and I take notes, like a book report, so I don't have to read it again. So I summarize the book into like 3 pages of notes, so I don't have to pick it up again, right? So, and from all my talks I did around the world and stuff, I said, listen, I'm just going to make some videos for my son, so, like, I could leave it to them. I could leave it to my grandkids that this was the wisdom that I learned. And so I sat in front of a camera, and then 3 hours go by, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to eat, right? Like, this is how it started. And so I went up shooting 300 segments of 5-Minute Fuel, which is all these, like, characteristic traits of successful people, or just words of wisdom that I really did it for my kids, but I actually took those and I put them online and as 5-Minute Fuel. So you can see that at YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me, you'll be able to have access to those.
That's incredible. That is so awesome. This has been one of my favorite episodes. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. And I hope it won't be the last. Hopefully we can touch base in the next year or so, or 6 months, or who knows when. And we can see, you know, what incredible things you have accomplished.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Mo.
Well, all right. I hope you have an awesome day. That was really fun.
Dude, that was awesome, man. Thank you so much. Sorry about you. You cut out a little bit at the end there, but no, man, that was awesome. I'll love to do a sequel with you anytime you want, man.
Sweet. Well, stay in touch, yeah?
No, always. And same here to you. Like, just you. I mean, you could text. You got my phone. Just text me. You'll never bother me. So just text me anything on training or ideas. And then, you know, once I get this course built, then I'll definitely contact you on about really crushing some things out of the water here.
Sweet. And if you ever need like questions answered, just hit me up. I'm more than happy to be like, no, you need to do this, or you need to try that.
Oh no, I will for sure, because I realize I'm slightly illiterate, and I went through enough teams and agencies to realize, okay, you know, I'm gonna. so I'll definitely tell you, and you'll be able to like. But I'm pretty much done with this team. But once they build this thing, then I'll bring it to you, and you just give me your opinion.
Sweet, you got it. And if for whatever reason you just decide to do it on your own, Teachable and Thinkific are great platforms to host courses on.
Yeah, Thinkific. Mine's on Thinkific. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thanks, brother.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.